questions are great. The order that I go over the materials isn't necessarily the best order. You can do it whatever works well for you. But what usually works well for me is I start with the rec check report usually. So in my mind, before I sit down to write a phase 1 environmental site assessment, I'm going to have all the documents in front of me. The environmental questionnaire, the site inspection checklist, all the historical data, aerials, city directories, fire insurance maps. I'm going to have the rec check report or radius search report, 1 mile radius search report in front of me. And I'm going to go through these things. I always start with the 1 mile radius search, the rec check report. That seems to work best for me. I always have a notepad in front of me where if I'm writing a phase 1 and reviewing these things to write a phase 1, where I list all the things that make up a rec. Remember, it takes numerous facts to end up having one rec. You want to identify that rec in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different ways in order to build your case. You're like a private investigator trying to build a case. And it's very important. So you want to build a case and work your way through. So remember, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. Otherwise, let's get started. So up on the screen, we have a rec check report. As I showed you yesterday, the most important thing in reviewing a rec check report is, because some of our clients get tens of hundreds of these, make sure the site location is your site. You don't want to be reviewing a report and be on the wrong site. And so you want to verify that a couple ways. So let's shrink this down a little bit. So we have the full page basically on the screen. And so this is our standard 1 mile radius rec check report that costs $74. So if you want to get around this really easy, the easiest way is hit this ribbon on the left side and pull up the bookmarks. With the bookmarks, you can click on any one of these and go immediately to it. So first we wanted to identify we're on the correct site. Because remember, this is the first document we're reviewing for our case study. So let's make sure we're on the right site. And I go to the 16th mile radius map. And yes, I know this is our site. The star happens to be pretty much in the middle of our site. A couple other things I start noticing right now is that my site has a yellow, and I've got a couple adjacent yellows, and I've got a red. Well, remember, green is good, yellow is we don't know. The agency didn't tell us whether it's open, closed, or whether there's a concern or not. And red is always bad to the bone, period. It's an open lust case. It's an open case of some sort. Super fun site. Could be any of the above, but it's always bad to the bone. So right now, we've got some red flags, right? So we've identified that we're on the right site. That's good. The next thing we probably want to do, and remember, we're just looking at vapor intrusion. The next thing we probably want to do is go to the mapped air permit. An air permit is dished out or required when a client deals with volatile organic chemicals, like a body shop, like solvent usage in a machine shop, or manufacturing, or dry cleaners, right? And so right away, we see that we've got a mapped air permit. It's quite a ways away from our site. And right now, we don't know a lot about our site. We don't know what direction the groundwater flow goes in. Is that site higher than our site? What? We do know that all groundwater is going to flow towards these sources. Most likely our site's going to flow to the east or southeast. And same with that vapor intrusion. It's probably going to flow to the south-southeast. So, yeah, it's a couple blocks away. It could be a concern. Let's see what the heck this thing is. 44. So guess what it is? It's a cleaners, right? Well, of course, a cleaner could be a potential for vapor intrusion to our subject property. Probably not, because it's so far away, but it is a potential. So I'm going to make that a note in my potential rec for vapor intrusion. And where I found that, and I found that in the 1 mile database. Let's see how far away it is. It's 0.21 miles away. So it's northwest 2.1 miles away. And since we know groundwater probably flows east-southeast, that's about right. It is a potential, and it's 21 feet higher, which is significant. So I'm glad we made that as one of the potentials. Now, this alone wouldn't be enough to say that there's a vapor intrusion wreck on our site. But let's see if we can build a case with some more while we're at it. So we looked at first the mapped air permits. Now, sometimes you're going to get mapped air permits with a huge amount of plumes. I'm going to show you one just for the fun of it. That's a lot of plumes. That's a lot of volatile organic chemical usage. That's where I wouldn't want to have my house right there. That would be, or residence or apartment or whatever, because you don't know with all that commingling contaminants whether you're breathing in a bunch of garbage or not, because nobody knows. And here, this is Boston, and there's a lot of high rises. So all those things could be channeling around the buildings, co-mixing, creating who knows what. That's bad. But this is an example of a report with a lot of air permits. So anyway, now that we got the air permits done, because that seems to be the first thing to do, I want to go back to that 1/16 of a mile map. We use the 1/16 of a mile map because the 1/4 mile map gets really busy. The 1 mile map basically is useless, right? This is a useless map. That's why we're the only company that has a 1/16 of a mile map. If anyone else has, they're infringing on our copyright. Same with the mapped air permits, volatile organic chemicals. We're the only ones. You don't need to get a separate report in order to identify the potential for vapor intrusion. And this case study is going to point that out. So let's go back to the 16th of a mile, and we want to see what our site's listed for. Let's go to our site. Well, lo and behold, our site is listed for historical RV dealer, RV trailers, recreational vehicles, and it's Cal Marine, and it's Racine Riverside Marine Inc. So right away, we know that ours is a boat dealer. It's right on the waterway. So we're going to put down boat dealer. We're building our wreck, remember? The facts in our wreck, boat dealer. What do boat dealers do? They repair motors. They repair fiberglass. They use a lot of volatile organic chemicals and solvents. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at, and let's go back to that 16th of a mile. Remember, we're just building a case for vapor intrusion. So when you develop your rec, you're going to have all these listings of things that could be potential vapor intrusion. So the next thing we want to look at is we want to look at number 2. So let's go to the number 2 real quick. And what do we have? We have green manufacturing. Well, okay, green manufacturing. Okay, a manufacturer. I want to see one other thing real quick. It's 2 feet higher, and it's immediately adjacent, right? So it's 2 feet higher. It's got an open case. That was reported in, start date was in 1994. Last action was 2013. I'm wondering if it was closed and exactly what it was. It's probably, I don't know. We could cut this link in and go right to the case and see exactly what it's about. We could also click this link and get more details. All the details they supplied us. So they use hazardous materials, and they're registered in the facilities list using hazardous materials. They're a historic ERP Wisconsin. What is historic ERP? Well, really quickly, you can go down to record search the source and find out what a historic ERP is. So we got historic ERP, Historical Emergency Repair Program. So this is a supplemental database. Basically, they had an emergency spill of some sort, and they cleaned it up or whatever. So that's a good thing. Let's go back to the listings. So that's how you find out what the agency is you're looking at. They had a historic lust. Let's see what this is. So they had a historical leaking underground storage tank in 1989 or 98. We don't know if it was closed. Historical machine shop. They're using solvents, materials, RCRA disposal. Lust closed, so that leaking underground storage tank was closed. We get a little more detail on it. So last action was 1998, and it was started in 1991. That's a long time for closure, so they must have had a pretty big spill. So right away, I'm going to write down green manufacturing to the northwest. Manufacturing lust, spills, has waste, hazardous use, chemical usage. And I'm making a note. Remember, this is just one more fact building your case that there's a potential for vapor intrusion on your subject site. There's the RCRA, their generators. Let's see, are they small quantity? Oh, they say mixed waste now. Small quantity generator. Spill, they've had a spill, old spill back in 2004. Further action may be necessary. Last action, well, no, it wasn't 2004. Last action was 1993, and the start date was 1990. So they haven't done anything since the spill, reported anything like that. That concerned me. We don't know what it was a spill of either, do we? We might in the further details, but those probably aren't listed anymore. So I definitely select that link and go check this out. No, let's go back up here. So 2 spill, we got the historic spill. So this site definitely concerns me. And I would put a little note that you probably ought to go to the agency and do a file review. And definitely during the site walk, you want to go around the perimeter of your property and see if there's any monitoring wells or anything like that from this property. So the next site we want to look at is, let's look at 3 and A1. So let's go 3 first. And 3 is Shepherd Plating Company. Big red flags, a plating company. But they're 7 feet lower. 7 feet lower. Is that still going to be a concern for vapor intrusion with them being 7 feet lower? And we know groundwater flows towards them? Huh? Can anyone answer that question? Is it still going to be a potential for vapor intrusion when the site is 7 feet lower? Anyone know? There's really no right answer, so don't be afraid to guess. But in any case, absolutely. And let me show you why. Let's go to the 16th of a mile map. So this is 17 foot lower. It definitely slopes towards the river. Any major spills or anything that reach the groundwater are going to flow towards the river. But volatile organic chemicals, if this building is right up against this road, the volatile organic chemicals, the gases coming off of that spill or the vapor, can definitely flow upwards, because it will. Usually TC, PC, all those things are lighter than air, and so they flow up. Going to come up, get trapped under this roadway, and then probably leak out onto our site. That's a really important thing. So I'm going to put Shepherd Plating. I don't know if they're a concern or not, or a fact, but I've got to see if they've had any spills, problems, or anything. But just being a plating, we know they use tons and tons of solvents. So we now have dry cleaner. Our site is a marina or boat sales. We have green manufacturing, and we have Shepherd Plating. We've really come up with a tremendous amount of reasons already that need further investigation for sure to determine if the there's a potential for vapor intrusion on our subject property. So if there aren't any questions, I'm going to move on. So basically right now, we've reviewed enough, but I did want to see this A1. That's an area spill. Let's see what it is. So the wharf, somewhere on the wharf, they had some sort of spill, or no, they had a general liability clarification letter issued. More or less, they had an AST or UST on site. And so we listed it. So let's look at it. In A1, let's zoom in on this a little bit. You can see A1, the wharf, right there, is right about where our plating facility was. And so that is definitely a concern to me. And I would definitely probably pull a file on that property and see what it's about. But it's right where the Shepherd Plating Company was. So we want to write down the wharf and pick up a little bit more information on this site and see if it becomes part of this concern or not. So pretty much for vapor intrusion, you don't need to review any more of the 1 mile radius search report. You've got a ton of information already. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the next historical thing that I would review. Whether you would review it or not, or what order you review these historical items in to identify your wrecks is kind of up to you. But these are the things you get when you order one of our standard packs. So if there aren't any questions on the 1 mile radius search report, let's go to what I'd review next, which is the aerials and topos. Now you're going to see that we don't put our aerials and topos in a light box. We don't want you to have to mess with them, screw with them. We want you to very easily review them very quick. So what we do is we either overlay a parcel map or we put a big red box around your site so it's really easy for you to see the subject property. In this case, this is really important because our property extends down to right here. And if we didn't have this parcel map overlaid, we may not know that's our property. We do know that this isn't our property. We also do know that the plating facility was over here, but isn't here now. So we're going to keep looking for the dates when the plating facility shows up. But we do verify that ours is a boat yard, boat sales, boat service, whatever you want to call it. It's obvious it's a marine sales place, right? One of the other things is we see green manufacturing now, pretty huge. We see some boat storage over here. We don't know what this is yet. Photograph only shows you rooftops, remember. But it's giving us an idea of our site. But again, this photo is telling us that we're some sort of boat facility, whether a marina, whether sales, whether repair, we're some sort of boat. So we'd note the photo and year because that's one of our facts. We'd also note it for green manufacturing because remember, we're building facts. So in 2017, we've got the same thing. Now, in 2011, you can see it still looks like we deal with boats. We still have green manufacturing. We still don't have the plating thing. We may have the wharf over there, but we don't know. But that's about all we see that's going to have to do with vapor intrusion. If we're talking about writing the whole report, there's a tremendous amount of information we could glean from this. So this is really interesting, and this has always boggled my mind. See these little piles of whatever? I have no idea what all that is. But it's still some sort of boat thing, and it's still green manufacturing over here, and I don't see anything of any big concern anywhere else. So that's 2007. So remember, we're building a history of the site too as we go along. And you should be doing this every time, making little notes. So right now, we're still boat. What year is this? 2002. We're still boat. But what's a big concern here? What do we got here? It looks like we have a building. This may be the plating facility. I'm going to write down plating facility in 2002, which I've already got plating noted. Photo 2002. And why am I doing that? I'm going to verify what that is and what the address is, probably either in the city directories or the fire insurance maps, right? But right now, I know it's there. I also know the building's right up against the road. And that road is potentially 7 feet higher. So volatile organic chemicals could leak under that slab, right up under this road, and percolate out onto my property. That's not good. That's the potential for vapor intrusion. Green manufacturing's still there, but I'm noticing something that kind of concerns me a little bit. Look at this band of, I need to do something a little better. Look at this band of green going on here. What is that? Is it a culvert? Is it a creek? What is it? I don't know. But whatever it is, it disappears onto my property. I'm concerned. I'm going to make a note of culvert or creek west to east to my property boundaries. Why is that important? We know they use volatile organic chemicals up here. If any of that spilled into that, could it go onto our site? Absolutely. It's a conduit. And you're always looking for conduits for things to carry from adjacent sites. Okay, 2000. Pretty close together photo. Probably not a whole lot of changes. No, I don't see anything different. So let's jump down to 95. We're probably going to jump a little further now because it's staying the same. Okay, so now in 1971, no longer marina, no longer boat. Make a note. You still have green, the plating place and green manufacturing. But you have no boat storage. Now it's a tough photo to see. You can zoom in on them. You can zoom out on them. Sometimes they get a little better. Sometimes they don't. but I'm pretty comfortable there's no boats there. I'm really guessing that the fire insurance maps in the city directories is going to fill in what's there in 71. So I'm going to be looking for that. But right now, I'm just looking for vapor intrusion. So now, what year is this? Definitely in 1955, we got a big jump. Green manufacturing's there. The plating's still there. But our site is all different. Now remember, we've got a building on our site here, and we don't know what that building is. I'm going to make a note of one of my facts. I don't know if it'll be a concern for vapor intrusion or not, but building in the southwest corner. Question mark. 1955 photo. It could be a concern. If you guys see anything else that can be a concern, let me know. Okay, pretty much the same. Still no marina, still no nothing, right? But what has changed in 1937 between 1955 and 1937? Plating disappeared. But that means that plating was on site for at least 47 plus years. That's a long time. A good long time to spill a whole bunch of stuff, huh? So now I'm starting to see some things that are starting to concern me again. So let's look at them. First of all, we got this creek, and now it turns inward a little sharper, right to the middle of our property. The other thing is, I got this kind of view right there of something there. And something kind of here. And maybe something right here. Well, those are starting to concern me. Those are the kinds of things you should be looking for. I don't know what they are, but I'm going to put another note, unknown features. In 1937 photo. So now we're to USGS. 1937 is the oldest photo we got. We use a big red block because they put Douglas Avenue over this USGS map section. It's about worthless. So let's go to 1980. All this does is verify that our plating's there, really nothing else. We could also get our elevation pretty easy. Let's go down here. Again, same thing. USGS maps are limited in what they provide you. Oh my gosh, holy cow, what year is this? 1941. What do we see? Someone tell me what we see in this USGS map. Come on, somebody's got to see it. What's a concern for vapor intrusion on this USGS map? Anybody paying attention? Jim, you got to know this. Susanna, you know what it is? River. Sure. How about a creek? How about this? This is a creek right there. Goes right through our property. Now it goes under our property. What's the problem with a creek? Even when they're encapsulated or a storm drain's put through for them to go in or whatever, the old layers of creek bed are still there. They're gravel and sand. They're a conduit for any kind of spill, volatile organic chemicals, all kinds of things going right onto our property and under our property. So, remember, I made a note for the creek. So I'm going to add to that note USGS map 1941 shows the creek. That's a fact that any volatile organic chemicals spilled on green manufacturing could go right under our site and under our site and cause a vapor intrusion concern. So, creek again. Creek again. That's one thing we should look for is when do we lose the plating? See if we can narrow that date down. 1941, no plating. So now, 1941 USGS map, no plating. We're trying to get the years that the plating was there. Okay, that's the aerial photos and USGS maps. We're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 concerns or facts to build our case for a potential vapor intrusion. That's already significant. Anyone got any questions? If you don't have questions, I'm going to move on. So the next thing I'm going to move on to is fire insurance map. Fire insurance maps are great when you can get them. When you can't, which are in real rural areas, the only time you get them is in really downtown old areas or old big cities. So, but when you do get them, they are beneficial. So let's look at them. So here we got back to 1984, no, 1908, 1887, excuse me. That's pretty good. So here again, we put over the fire insurance map, we lay a parcel map. So you can very quickly see where your site is. Our site goes all the way down to there. It's really that little cutout there, but it goes all the way down to there. But those are concerns, right? I mean, that shows you your exact site. That's sweet. So what's really important here is, remember, we're looking for vapor intrusion. So what year is this? This is 1969. We know the plating's there, so electroplating's there. We have a railroad line. And so right here, if you look at it, this is one of those things I showed you on that aerial photo that was showing that spur line. There's also another spur line that stops here, but my guess it eventually comes under our site. Spur lines are bad to the bone because you get spillage from the locomotives onto your site, onto the track, whatever, all kinds of time. Just about all the time. We do have that building I was concerned with. Remember, building on the southwest corner in the 1955 photo? Well, this is 69. I'm going to put 1969 fire insurance map. It's shown. And it's a machine shop. Machine shops are notorious for using volatile organic chemicals. So that's obviously a concern. But what else do we have in this fire insurance map? And this isn't the best fire insurance map we could be looking at, but we're going to look at it anyway. Let's zoom in a little more. We got right here, auto body repair and paint, and metal paint spray booth. Really? Well, they definitely use solvents, and this is back in 1969. We dumped everything on the ground, right? So, subject site, not only marine boat, but auto body and paint. This just gets added to our facts of a reason that there's contamination in the ground that could cause vapor intrusion on our site. Up here we've got building material garage. No idea. But what do we have over here? Well, here we can't see a lot, but we know it's green manufacturing. Manufacturers of steel stamping and plating. Plating, concerning me. All these above ground vats, right there, right there, right there. All those things contain chemicals, and those chemicals may be volatile organic chemicals. I don't know. I'm hoping the fire insurance maps are a little better as we go along. So let's go down to here. We still don't really know what this is, but this says United Fuel and Supply Company. Fuel and supply. Well, prior to 1969, for sure, fuel could be coal, fuel oil, that kind of thing. So we got to keep our eye out for that. We also have this spur line that I marked on that photo. So this is all pretty interesting stuff. I don't really know what's here yet because remember, our property, well, no, our property comes down right there. So it's just adjacent to our site. But we're also looking at adjacent as potentially being concerns, right? So we got to find out what this is. So let's go to the next fire insurance map. And this fire insurance map's a whole lot better. So right away, we've got all those spur lines I was talking about onto our site. We don't know what that is, but we do know that now it goes from auto body to Racine Fuel Company. You're going to write that down on your scratch pad of paper. You're going to go down, it's 1951. So obviously their heating is, I want to see if I can see what's in the southwest corner. Yeah, I can't quite make it out. Now, but 1951, I do not have my plating company. So I'm narrowing down when that plating company was on site. And now well, I think I already narrowed it down to, let's see, 41. Well, 51 is good. So I'm 2002 to 51. And I've got fuel on the southern portion of my site, fuel adjacent to my site on the bottom. I've got 8 trucks, and I have beer storage. They must be a delivery. So that's kind of cool. But those trucks, do they repair those trucks within that building? That could be a concern because it's adjacent to my site. Right? One other thing I should get while I'm here is the addresses I really need to look at. So remember, my site goes like that. So I'm going to go, let's say 922. All the way up to 1016 Erie Street. And then I'm going to do 1022. See right here. Down to about 918 Douglas Street. So when I look up city directories, I've got the addresses I need to look. Now, one of the things I wanted to do is I really want to see what this site is, and that's looks like it's 947. So I want to know what 947 is. That'll hone in on that building a little bit for me, which is on my property, about the center of my property. Now, one of the things we haven't looked at yet on this fire insurance map is the green manufacturing. So again, I'm starting to get concerned because manufacturers of steel stamping, machine shop, die storage, above ground storage tank there, Japan tanks. Those are usually dipping tanks. Here's a bunch of above ground vats. There's where it says green manufacturing again. I mean, I'm getting all kinds of things on this site that are concerning me. Coal room. So that's where they generated their steam in order to, for heat and in order to, how do you say it? To run their machinery. So they generated steam to run their machinery. Lacquer. Wherever they have lacquer, they've got cleaning solvents, right? So all this is a concern to me. This whole building could be bringing stuff on my site. When I review the file on it, I got a feeling I'm going to learn a lot about what's going on. Does anyone see anything I'm missing here? I don't. Remember, we're just looking at vapor intrusion. So let's shrink this back down. Let's go ahead and go to, let's go all the way to, well, we might want to do that. No, let's go skip around a little bit because I think everyone's getting a little bored. Here's 1884. This is our oldest one. Well, first of all, in 1884, what are we? We're West Shore Lumber Company. We're a lumber yard. We go from racing fuel to a lumber yard. That's interesting. What's the problem with an old lumber yard? Can anybody tell me? What kind of concerns related to vapor intrusion might you find in an old lumber yard? Come on, guys. Diane, Jim, Kara, anybody? Hello, hello. At least acknowledge that you're still there and listening, probably recording it and doing other work. Creosote. Love it, Diane. Yes. In the old days, they would dig a pit on their property and fill it full of creosote, which had all kinds of weird stuff like pentachlorophenol and all kinds of weird stuff in it back then. But a lot of volatile organic chemicals and a lot of nasty stuff. And they would throw the ends of their posts into that pit and let them soak for months to treat them as a word preservative. And those pits, when they are done with them or the lumber company left, they just buried them, covered them up, and called it a day. Nobody ever cleaned it up. So that's one of the problems with the lumber yard. Also, of course, they sold paint. Along with paint comes the old thinners and that kind of stuff, which are all volatile organic chemicals. We still don't have, we really don't have anything much of concern on this side. We have a planing mill down here adjacent to us, but our side only goes like that. Good thing for the parcel map, it's easy to make out our site. But really, one of the biggest concerns in this is this right here. See that creek? Runs right onto our property. And it used to go across our property, now it goes under it. We also have a little one here, who knows where that runs. But these are all concerns for volatile organic chemicals because they're all pathways for volatile organic chemicals to come onto your property. So let's go ahead and look at this manufacturing plant a little bit. Now it's Platts and Sons Leather Company. Wow. Really? So everyone knows that tanning hides uses nasty chemicals. Here's a bunch of vats. There's all kinds of drying platforms where stuff leaked onto the ground. You have rope power, so where your steam engine is, the power goes over to here for some reason. We have a machine shop right here. I can't quite make that out. I really need to be about 300. Let's just zoom out. That's a little better. Air drying room. See the vats? Think about where they scrape those hides down and all the waste and all that stuff. And they probably just rinse it off and goes right into the creek. So all that stuff for years and years drained onto our property. That's possible vapor intrusion. from Green Manufacturing, which is current, and from the old leather company in the old days, where they didn't really care about what they did with the chemicals and where they dumped them and all that other stuff. So very important. So we glean from this a whole lot of information. All this is dwellings or stores and just not a problem. We still really don't know what that is, and that address was 947, so we'll pick that up. So if there's no more questions on fire insurance maps, we're going to jump to city directories. City directories are pretty quick. And we're going to jump around a little bit because they're really easy to review. You're really just looking up. Is this Racine? No, that's a different one. Let's get it. Here we go. So let's first go to, what's the year? 2017. So we're going to do Erie first. And remember, our site is 950, 960, that kind of right in there. So we're looking for 922 through 1016 Erie Street. Well, right here, Dodge intersects, so we're kind of done. But what we do have here is Yardarm Barn. That's that little notch out we had on our property. If we go back to the fire insurance map, it's right here. Remember that little notch out? Let's zoom out a little bit. So right here is where the bar was. Okay? And then our site is Racine Riverside Marine. In 2017, we know it was a Marine. So that's Erie. It didn't give us a whole lot of information, but it does help. And everything added together helps. So next is Douglas Avenue, and we're looking from 918 to 1022, and we really don't have anything. Prospect is another intersection road. It's not showing anything. This city directory didn't give us anything. It's the directory company. Either they didn't ever get any postcards back or whatever. Doesn't matter. It's not there. We know it should be, but it isn't. And we know by the cross streets we're on the right thing. Let's zoom down a little bit. Let's go to 1985. Let's do Erie again first. Here's Erie Street. Now there's that bar again. Remember we had the wharf? Well, it was boat storage. Check it out. 931. We have Racine Power. That's the little building in the middle of our property. We have Custom Carware, Car Care, Auto Repair. And then we have Racine Speed and Power. We're all even numbers. They gave us 950 as vacant, but one thing that I find really fascinating is right here. Oh, come on. It says for 949, environmental testing, and also has Shepherd Plating Company. So it's almost like an environmental company moved into the Shepherd Plating Company building, probably why they're cleaning it up and sampling. I have no idea, but I find that kind of funny. So check that out. So that verifies all kinds of things, and we knew our site was still there in 1985. And so it can help us establish a timeline when things were there and when things weren't there. So let's go over to Douglas Avenue. 945, we were looking for what 947 was, and they're saying it's just the parking lot. Well, we didn't see that building in 1985, and so maybe it is a parking lot. It came earlier. But we do have green manufacturing. So we showing our green manufacturing, nothing else. We didn't get a huge amount of information from this, but we verified and confirmed green manufacturing again. So let's bob back to the 60s somewhere. What's that? Let's do 64. That's a good year. Okay. So here we have Erie. Let's see if we can find Erie. Right there. Erie. So it's definitely on the next page. And there's Erie. It is on the next page. If it wasn't, I was going to cry. So we have that United Fuel Storage we saw. We have Shepherd Plating. We have Riegelman Realty Inc. and Racing Fuel Company on our site, and part of it vacant. The cross street has a different name. That's interesting. Where Dodge ends into it. I guess it runs into it. And we have just off of our site, Robinson Machine Company. That's just off our property in the northeast corner. That is also another potential vapor intrusion concern from an adjacent site. Let's go down to Douglas. And Douglas Avenue, right here, we start 918. So we have a cafe, a tavern, a grocer, residences, a barber shop, apartments above us, and we have green manufacturing right here. So the only concern we have is green manufacturing, metal stamping, whatever. On our side of the street, we have Nash's Barber Shop, apartments, and Society of St. Vincent de Paul. No concern for vapor. Okay, so that was 64, but we didn't see Shepherd Plating, did we? Let's look in the 69 because we really need to see if we can see Shepherd Plating and get it down a little bit where. So in 69, Shepherd Plating was there, but in 61 it wasn't. So between 69 and 61, Shepherd Plating disappeared. You want to make a note of that because you're going to get a good timeline when this thing, when Shepherd Plating was on site and how many years. So let's drop all the way back to, we got a bunch of information, but let's go back to 1925. Let's do Erie Street. Erie right here. So we have West Shore Lumber. We have Carroll Coal below us. We've seen that sash, so it looks like the address range has changed a little bit. And then Prospect, so that's the cross street. So none of this is of concern, but the West Shore Lumber and Dunphy Manufacturing Company sash and door could be. Let's look at Douglas. So restaurant, residence, hotel, vacant. And now we got green manufacturing still there. We knew that. It's just the verification. Christian machine companies within green manufacturing. That's interesting. And none of these are of concern, and we've got our intersection. And that's 1925. Let's go back to our oldest one. Erie. We got Racine Pole and Spring Company, whatever that is, J.C. Carroll office, and West Shore Lumber still. Interesting. So West Shore Lumber is a concern. And Douglas Avenue, the address range doesn't go that far. So the directory company decided not to cover it, or maybe there wasn't anything on that part of the property. So we ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things that identified facts or concerns that could potentially lead to vapor intrusion on-site and off-site. That's huge. If this isn't a potential wreck for vapor intrusion, if this isn't a wreck for vapor intrusion, I don't know of one. This is a clear-cut case study of vapor intrusion. So there we go. That's pretty much it. If you get one of our packs, you can usually identify whether vapor intrusion is a potential concern for your site, therefore a wreck or not. Keeping in mind, only one good solid fact is enough, but the more you build a case, the less disputable it is and the less problems you have with clients questioning what you came up with. Remember, in a phase one, you're looking at either existing or potential hazardous materials, spills, whatever, and vapor migration being one of them. And so you don't have to conclusively identify that vapor intrusion is a potential in your property or vapor contamination exists. You just have to build a case that there's a potential for it and it becomes a wreck. And then the next step action, phase two, you go in there and do groundwater sampling, vapor sampling, whatever you need to do to verify it or disprove it. But that's what you're supposed to do for ASTM standards. So does anyone have any questions? Because I think I pretty much covered everything. Remember, if as our client, if you ever have any questions on a report, whether it's one of our reports, a phase one, anything else, send me the report. I'll review it for you and give you my 2 cents worth. I'm very opinionated. But being our clients will help you any way we possibly can. If you have trouble interpreting something, don't know what something is, give me a call. So if there isn't any other questions or anything, I'm going to end this webinar. Thank you for attending, and thank you for being our clients. We really appreciate it. You're welcome, Diane. You guys, like I said, we really appreciate having you as clients. And if there's anything we can ever do to help you, anything way we can improve our reports, our customer service, or anything like that, please let us know. If you have any questions or want samples of anything or want to know when other webinars is, just make sure Susanna L at reccheck.com has your email address, and she'll take care of you. Thank you very much, and everybody have just a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.